Our YX core stood at the edge of the drop bay, his clawed fingers tightening around the reinforced railing. The assassin team's stealth cruiser hovered over the ruins of an abandoned military outpost on the planet Vashtal 9. A dead world. Barren. Uninhabitable. No life had been recorded here in over 2 decades. And yet their target was here. A faint crimson glow from the setting twin suns bathed the wasteland below. Jagged remnants of bombed-out structures loomed like skeletal remains of a lost war. The client had provided little information. The target was designated as Anomaly 17X, highly dangerous, unknown species, an immediate threat. The payout was immense. Our YX core hadn't questioned it. Assassins never did. Behind him, Kazir studied the mission feed projected onto his wrist device. A veteran tactician, Kazir had guided them through countless hunts, but even he looked unsettled. "There's something off about this one." His voice was low, thoughtful. Vexi, the teen sharpshooter, adjusted the scope of her long-range plasma rifle. "It doesn't matter. We get in, neutralize, and collect." Threx let out a short, sharp laugh, the sound crackling through his helmet's modulator. "You're getting soft, Kazir. It's a high-paying kill order. That's all that matters." Our YX core lifted his wrist, activating his visor's scanner. Nothing. The target was deep inside the ruins. No movement. No heat signatures. Too quiet. "All units move," our YX core ordered. They descended in perfect formation, boots crunching against shattered concrete and twisted metal. The air smelled of decay, of something long forgotten. The silence pressed down on them. The assassins advanced, scanning for movement. Kazir took the lead, analyzing the data feed. "The anomaly was sighted here 2 solar rotations ago. Energy signatures suggest it's been scavenging old tech." "Scavenging?" Vexi frowned. "That's odd. No footprints," Threx muttered. "No sign of passage. But we know it's here." They entered a collapsed command center. Rusted consoles and shattered holodisplays littered the space. The walls were scarred from plasma burns, an old battlefield frozen in time. Then, the security feed flickered to life. Static hissed, resolving into fragmented images. A dark figure darted through the ruins. Small, fast, and impossible to track. Then, a brief glimpse of a face. The team froze. A human. Our YX core's mind reeled. It wasn't possible. Humans had been wiped out in the last great galactic war. Their homeworld was destroyed, their colonies reduced to dust. There were no survivors. There couldn't be. And yet here one was. Alone. Alive. The weight of the contract pressed on our YX core's mind. A human. His mandibles clenched. The client had lied to them. This was no anomaly, no unknown threat. This was a ghost of a race long thought extinct. Threx stepped forward. "It's just another target." His fingers hovered over the trigger of his rifle. "Doesn't matter what it is." Kazir exhaled slowly. "You don't understand. This changes everything. If humans survived..." A distant explosion cut him off. The ground shook. Dust rained from the ceiling. The walls trembled, the ancient structure groaning under the force. Then, through the haze, a flickering light appeared. A beacon. A warning. Vexi cursed. "It knows we're here." Our YX core's instincts screamed at him. This was no helpless survivor. The human had lured them in. They had walked into a trap. The assassin leader turned sharply. "Fall back! Now!" Too late. The ceiling collapsed. A flash of movement. A figure, impossibly fast, darting between the debris. The human. Threx was the first to react, firing a pulse round. It struck empty air. A shadow blurred past him, a metallic glint flashing in the dim light. A blade? A plasma tool? Then, Threx cried out. His weapon clattered to the ground, his arm severed at the joint. He fell to his knees, growling in pain. Our YX core barely had time to process what had happened before their calms crackled. A voice, small, cold, human. You shouldn't have come here. Then silence. Arwaixgor's grip on his rifle tightened. They had underestimated their target. And now, the hunt had turned. The planet was silent, broken only by the distant hum of the squad's cloaked craft, gliding silently over the ruins of the abandoned human colony. The once vibrant city was now a graveyard, its skyscrapers shattered, its streets littered with debris. Zypher's fingers tapped against the control panel, the lights dimmed to keep them undetected. One human, Lyervier murmured, scanning the final coordinates. One life form, reading at full alert. How is that even possible? Not our problem, Zypher responded coldly, his voice carrying the weight of countless successful missions. We eliminate the target. Simple. Talon gripped his rifle tighter, a rare flicker of doubt in his eyes. Something feels off. Focus, Talon, Zypher snapped, his tone sharp. It's a human. A weak, fragile creature. Nothing more. But as they landed, the unease only grew. The abandoned city, once teeming with life, now felt eerily still. Every corner seemed to harbor ghosts of the past, and the squad's boots crunched unnervingly loud on the cracked pavement. Split up, Zypher ordered. We find the target, neutralize it, and return. No delays. They scattered, each assassin following their own path, hearts steady but alert. Zypher moved with his usual precision, every step calculated, his enhanced vision scanning every shadow. The human could be hiding, or it could be waiting. Either way, it wouldn't stand a chance. Lyervier worked her terminal, hacking into the city's long-dead systems. I'm pulling up surveillance now, she said, her fingers dancing across the keys. There's nothing. Just static. Then we move blind, Zypher growled, irritated by the delay. Let's make this quick. The first shot came without warning. A loud, piercing crack echoed through the ruins, and a bolt of energy slammed into Vorek's shoulder, sending him reeling. He barely managed to stay on his feet, his heavy armor taking the brunt of the hit. His voice crackled in their comms, rough and panicked. Got a hit, unknown source. It's... Another blast, this time aimed directly at Zypher. He dodged, barely, his reflexes honed by years of combat training. The shot whizzed past his helmet, leaving a trail of shimmering blue light. He glanced around, scanning for movement. The enemy was close, closer than they thought. Get in position, Zypher barked. We're not letting it escape. Vorek growled, clutching his wounded arm. It's not it. It's a human. Who the hell is this? Suddenly, a figure leapt from behind a collapsed building, moving with terrifying speed and agility. The human, dressed in ragged combat fatigues, fired 2 shots in rapid succession, striking Lyervier's console. Sparks flew, and the tech expert cursed under her breath. My equipment's fried. Focus! Zypher shouted. Don't let him. The human was gone. Disappeared into the rubble. In the blink of an eye. Impossible, Talon muttered, scanning the area with his high-powered scope. This isn't normal. He's using our own tech against us, Lyervier said, her voice tight with frustration. He's reading our movements, countering us. Zypher's eyes narrowed. This one's not like the others. A human shouldn't be able to move like that. We're not dealing with ordinary prey. The team regrouped, the silence hanging heavily between them. They all knew what they had seen, the impossible feat of a human soldier who moved with the precision of a highly trained assassin. Why didn't you kill him? Vorek snapped at Talon, still shaking from his injury. Talon lowered his weapon. I couldn't. He's different. He's just a human, Vorek insisted. A weakling. What's so special about him? But even Zypher wasn't so sure anymore. His mind raced, calculating the implications of this encounter. He'd fought countless enemies, faced down species more dangerous than humans could ever dream of, yet none had ever displayed this level of skill. Send a message to command, Zypher ordered. We need more information. There's something about this human we don't know. As the team made their way deeper into the heart of the city, Lyervier's screen buzzed to life, revealing a single file, encrypted, but with clear signs of manipulation. "Whoever hired us is hiding something," she said, her voice tense. Cypher's eyes flashed with realization. "The target isn't just some rogue soldier. It's part of something bigger." The tension in the air thickened as they followed the trail of destroyed tech and booby traps. They were being led into a maze, a trap, but it wasn't for the human, it was for them. "Keep your heads on a swivel," Cypher growled. "We're not alone here." In the dim light of the ruined city, a single figure watched from a distant rooftop, his dark eyes filled with knowing. He had been waiting for them. The ruin of the city stretched out like a graveyard of forgotten battles, but beneath its decay, something new was stirring. Cypher's team had regrouped near the center, tension thicker than the dust-filled air. The human they were tracking hadn't been seen for hours, but his presence was everywhere. Broken wires, tampered tech, and the unmistakable sign of traps meant to mislead and confuse. "We're getting closer," Cypher murmured, his voice low, the usually unshakable leader now uncertain. His eyes scanned the environment, his pulse unsteady despite years of combat. "This human isn't acting alone. Or he's smarter than we thought," Lyervier replied, eyes flicking nervously over her readout. "This isn't a coincidence. He's been studying our every move. He knows exactly what we're capable of. And yet he keeps slipping away," Talon added, his voice a mix of frustration and awe. "We're elite assassins. This human should be dead by now." Cypher's jaw clenched. He didn't like the way they were talking about their target, like he wasn't just another job. "Enough. Stay focused. We finish the mission, no matter what." But something in Cypher's voice betrayed him. He didn't fully believe it himself. Every instinct screamed that they were dealing with something far beyond a simple human prey. The next corner turned into a nightmare. A familiar hiss filled the air, followed by the sharp sting of the first trap. A cloud of smoke billowed up, thick and choking, disorienting their senses. "Stay together!" Cypher barked. His voice was a lifeline as the team staggered through the smoke, trying to reorient themselves. Vorik was the first to stumble forward, his helmet casting dim light through the haze. "Cypher!" he shouted, his voice strained. "Something's..." A sharp pain shot through Cypher's side. His hand instinctively reached for his wound, only to find his fingers slick with something hot, wet. Blood. He gritted his teeth. The human was still here. Somewhere. Watching. "Vorik, Talon, watch your backs. Lyervier, patch me up," Cypher ordered, but his voice was weak now, a crack forming as the pain throbbed through his body. The adrenaline was wearing off, and the damage was starting to show. "I've got you," Lyervier said, kneeling beside him. She quickly assessed the wound, her fingers working with the ease of someone who had patched up far worse injuries. "It's not deep, but it's enough to slow you down. Stay still." Cypher shot her a grateful glance but knew time was running out. They needed to finish this. Fast. "Get up!" Vorik growled from the other side of the alley, his voice tight with anxiety. "We're surrounded!" Cypher pushed himself to his feet, ignoring the dizziness that threatened to take him. He could feel the weight of his team's doubt creeping in. It wasn't supposed to be like this. Humans weren't supposed to be a threat. And yet the facts didn't lie. The team took cover, readying themselves for what was next. But as Cypher's pulse raced and his mind calculated their next move, he noticed something. A pattern. A set of signs, subtle, almost imperceptible, marked their path. The traps had a rhythm to them. Each one designed to do more than stop them. They were being herded, directed. "He's leading us somewhere," Cypher muttered, eyes darting around. "It's not about killing us. It's something else." Suddenly, the ground beneath them cracked open with a deep, resonating boom. The explosion sent the team scattering. Cypher was thrown against the wall, his vision blurry. Lyervier's voice broke through the ringing in his ears. "He's toying with us. He knows exactly how we'll react." Gritting his teeth, Cypher scrambled to his feet, ignoring the sharp sting in his side. He's playing a game. And we're losing. The landscape around them shifted again. A building collapsed, its twisted metal and broken glass raining down in an eerie symphony of destruction. And there, standing atop the wreckage, was the human. Cypher's breath itched. The target didn't move. He just stood there, like he was waiting. Talon raised his weapon, ready to end it. But Cypher held up a hand. "Wait," he said, his voice hoarse. This isn't over." The human's eyes locked onto theirs, the faintest hint of a smirk pulling at his lips. He hadn't moved since the blast. Was he waiting for something? For a moment, Cypher considered that maybe the human wasn't as fragile as he thought. Maybe they were the ones being hunted. "Don't shoot yet," Cypher ordered, his voice cold. "Let's see what he does." For several agonizing seconds, no one moved. And then, without warning, the human dropped from his perch, diving into the shadows below. "Move!" Cypher shouted. They had no choice now. He would not let this human escape. The chase was on again. The streets blurred by Cypher's rapidly beating heart, the crack of gunfire echoing through the decaying city. But this time, Cypher wasn't just chasing a target. This time, he was running towards something. Something that felt more real than any mission before. And something told him that when this ended, nothing would ever be the same again. The wind howled through the shattered ruins of the city, whipping dust and debris into the air like the breath of some ancient, forgotten beast. Cypher's team was on edge. Every corner turned, every echoing footstep, felt like a warning. They had been chasing their target for days, but now, they were the ones being hunted. The human had led them into the heart of the desolate zone, an area stripped of all life but for the rubble and the occasional flicker of surveillance drones overhead. There were no more traps, no more smoke clouds to disorient them. This was different. This was something else entirely. Cypher's eyes narrowed. "This is it. We can't keep playing his game. He's luring us in. Should we split up?" Lyervier asked, her voice tense, almost too quiet against the wind's howling fury. "No," Cypher responded, shaking his head. "We stick together. He's already seen us break apart. That's what he wants. We won't give him the satisfaction." Talon clenched his fists. "He knows us better than we know ourselves. He's been a step ahead this entire time." Cypher swallowed hard. The stakes had never been higher. It wasn't just about the mission anymore. They were facing something entirely new. A human who could outthink, outfight, and outmaneuver them at every turn. Suddenly, a burst of gunfire echoed through the empty streets, the sound so sharp it felt like it could crack open the world itself. Cypher's reflexes kicked in instantly. He threw himself to the ground, pulling his team into cover with him. A split second later, another round of fire rained down, pinging off the debris. "That was close," Lyervier muttered, breathless. "Where did that come from?" Cypher's eyes scanned the area. There was no sign of movement. Just the endless gray wasteland stretching out ahead. He cursed under his breath. The human was toying with them again. The team huddled together, trying to make sense of the chaotic situation. Their quarry was still out there, hidden in plain sight. They could feel his presence. Like a ghost, always just beyond reach. "We can't keep doing this," Thoric growled. "We need to find him, end this. No more games." Cypher nodded, steeling himself. "We move forward. We don't give him room to breathe." They crept through the ruins, the sound of their footsteps muffled by the thick layer of dust and broken concrete beneath them. Their helmets gave them an advantage, sensors feeding them live data on every movement, every change in air pressure. Yet they were still blind. The human had them trapped in a corner of his design. Suddenly, Lyervier froze, her hand raising in warning. "I hear something." Cypher's heart skipped a beat. He strained his ears, but there was only silence. Then, a rustle, a soft, barely perceptible movement in the shadows. "He's close," Talon whispered, stepping forward. "Move in slowly. Don't let him escape." But just as they advanced, the ground beneath them cracked, and a massive explosion sent them sprawling. The shockwave was deafening, a thunderous roar that rattled their bones. Cypher's body slammed against the ground, his vision blurring as he struggled to regain his bearings. "Get up! Get up!" Talon's voice cut through the haze. Cypher fought against the overwhelming disorientation, pushing himself to his feet. His side was still bleeding from the earlier injury, but adrenaline was a powerful thing. He would push through. Lyervier was already moving, her weapon raised as she scanned the horizon. "He's gone!" Again. Cypher cursed under his breath. "He's not gone! He's watching us! Just waiting for us to make our next move." For the first time, doubt settled in Cypher's mind. They were elite assassins, trained to face the deadliest enemies in the galaxy. But this human, this creature with no weapons, no armor, was proving to be their greatest challenge. And it wasn't the human's skill that was unsettling. It was the calm, calculating way he moved. It was like he was operating with an entirely different set of rules, ones that the assassins hadn't even begun to understand. Cypher's gaze shifted to the horizon, his sharp instincts tingling. "We need to stop running. He's trying to push us into a corner. Let's do the opposite. We take the fight to him." Talon grinned, a dangerous smile that promised only destruction. "Finally, I was wondering when you'd say that." The team moved out in unison, the weight of their armor barely noticeable as they approached the human's last known position. The air was thick with tension, the hum of distant drones the only sound accompanying their march. Cypher's mind raced. Every move he made felt like it could be his last, and yet, he knew it was the only choice. They couldn't keep running. They had to face the human on his terms. And this time, they wouldn't lose. As they turned the final corner, Cypher's eyes locked onto the human. He was standing in the middle of the street, his silhouette framed by the crumbling remains of a building behind him. No weapons. No traps. Just silence. Cypher's grip tightened on his weapon. "No," he whispered. But before they could make a move, the human raised his hands, signaling for peace. The team froze. "I don't want to kill you," the human said, his voice calm and almost sad. "But if you want to live, you'll have to listen."